All right. Today, obviously, you started off with Skattebo, one of our favorite players in the draft. Just the way he plays, the mentality he plays with, the toughness, the competitiveness, the grit. Good hands out of the backfield as well. So, just a darn good football player. So we were excited to get him. Marcus Mbow, he's a guy that we were a little bit surprised that he was there when we picked. We really liked his film. He's at another guy that was at the Senior Bowl that we got to spend some time with. Just really athletic player. Has some position, flexibility from tackle to guard. We think he can play both. Smart guy. Finishes on film. You see him running down on the poles and that stuff. Super athletic. So, excited about him. Thomas Fidone out of Nebraska, another Senior Bowl guy that we got to spend time with. A lot of these guys that we drafted were at the Senior Bowl. But an athletic kid that, he had a couple injuries during his career. He had 2 ACLs, but high recruit out of high school that, we spent a lot of time with at the workout, and there's some untapped potential there, that we see in him. Toughness as a blocker is a plus as well. And then Korie Black, 6 foot, 200, ran 4.3, press corner that late in the draft has some traits that you look for. He's also a tough kid, good tackler, so has special teams value as well. So excited about what we did today. Added some good football players with the right makeup and mentality that we're looking for. It was good additions to what we were able to do on Thursday and Friday. So with that, I'll open it up if you guys have any questions.
You said you were surprised that Bo was there. I think everyone kind of was. Was there any red flags medically that popped up that you think caused him to slide? Or?
No, and we look at all the medical, and that information is shared, so you have an idea of what other teams have on guys. And no, it wasn't. There were no real red flags from that standpoint. When you take these guys, sometimes you get texts from around the league from other personnel people or general managers if you took a guy they were going to take, and he's one that there are a lot of texts, just the value where we got him. So yeah, I'm not really sure what happened, but glad he was there. And that happens sometimes in the 4th round. We liked guys in the past, and we've been able to get them in the 5th that maybe we had in the 4th. So
there's a lot of running backs in this draft. Obviously, seems like Skattebo was just kind of different from a lot of them for some reason. Can both of you say you say one of your favorite players in the draft? Why?
Well, he plays with great contact balance. He's tough as nails. You can use him a variety of ways. Pass game, he can catch. He can run routes. He can throw the ball, as you've seen on one of those. And he's got very good vision and quick feet. He's 220-pound back who runs with power, toughness, and has the type of personality that I think Joe did a great job of, along with the scouts, of bringing in guys that have a lot of toughness. And even to get Bo, credit Joe there again. We're sitting there talking about him or Skattebo with that first pick, and he's like, we're gonna go with Skattebo, and then Bo was there, however many picks later. So got 2 guys that we were going to take. Skattebo left, we were going to take Bo. So, but toughness all the way through the draft was something that we have talked about, both mental and physical. And I think Skattebo's got both. Not to mention the other guys, but I know the question was for Scat.
You mentioned that the toughness, the idea. I mean, and every guy we've talked to today, it seems like that was one of the first things that popped out, from Abdul to even Jackson. Talked about it. Why is that, or was that a vision for this team now? I know you've had it in the past, but
I think you always add that element to your team in both areas. Mentally, the challenges that go of playing professional football and playing in New York, quite frankly, and toughness on the field. And I think we did that in free agency, and we did that in the draft. So something that we covet. I thought we did a good job of acquiring players that demonstrate both of those things.
Joe, I know you touched on the identity thing the last couple of days. When you look at big picture this offseason, you 2 free agent signs that you spent the most money on were both on the defensive side. 2 of your first 3 picks were on the defensive side. Is that a plan thing? Is that just the way it worked out? Or is that the identity you're trying to build here? the front seven in particular?
Yeah, and Jordan, when you're going through it and you look at free agency, you only have the players that are available. So if there's not, a number one receiver that hits the market, or Trey Smith is franchised by Kansas City, and you're looking at a right guard. So you're at the mercy of what's available in free agency, and we were trying to upgrade the talent. And I felt like we did, and this was an opportunity in the draft where we didn't necessarily have to go with need. And there's been some of that in the past, right or wrong, as we finally built the depth and got the roster to where it is. There was situations in this draft when 3 guys were on the same line and you were able to take the best football player. And it lined up that way. And, again, I feel good about the guys that we added, because of that. Was it a conscious effort? It was a conscious effort to bring in, the right type of guys with the right mentality that we covet. And again, in free agency, there were some players that we went after on the offensive side of the ball, and for whatever reason weren't able to get them. But we had an opportunity to get a really good corner and a safety, and Chauncey as an outside backer with some inside rush in free agency, and that's the way it happened.
So do you look at it now when you see what you do have on paper, the way it worked out, say, okay, well, we need that to be sort of the strength of our team?
Yeah,
Front seven, I'm talking.
it'll all come together. Yeah, on paper, until we go out and do it, it doesn't matter. It's just on paper now. So, that's where this time of year, Dave's doing a great job, and the coaches and the players themselves, they need to come together and develop their own identity and what type of team they want to be. And that'll start, once the rookies get in here, the vets are already in here. So until we go out and do it, it's just on paper. So, I'm excited to see how this team comes together. I like the players that we have. I like the makeup of the players. I'm confident in the coaching staff, and I'm excited, for the 2025 season.
How much better do you think the roster is today than when you ended the 2024 season?
Yeah, same thing I just said. It doesn't matter what I think until we go out and do it. Do I like the guys? Yeah, heck yeah. I like the makeup. I think they're wired the right way, the right DNA. I think we have the right people in this building. And again, it's up to us and the team to really start to gel and develop who we want to be and what we want to be about. And the leadership, step up through this offseason, understand what the standard is. And when we hit the grass in August, what's that standard going to be? And we need to hold everybody to the standard. And, they're going to develop their own identity as players and coaches to what this team wants to be. But again, on paper, I like some of the pieces that we have, but it's up to them to go out and do it. And, I have confidence in they will.
When you're looking to evaluate toughness, you can look at tape maybe and see it physically. How do you measure it mentally in these guys when you're scouting them?
Yeah, and we got an experienced staff with a lot of good connections at colleges. So you're asking everybody that's coached them, the strength coaches, academics, whoever it may be. You're doing a lot of research on these. Hey, at the All-Star games, we've had coaches coach All-Star games. That's a huge advantage for us, whether it's Senior Bowl, East, West. So you never miss an opportunity to have a touch point with a player or do your research on, again, coaches that may have coached them. Dave's has a Rolodex of basically any player at any school. He's got a guy that, it's amazing. We'll be in meetings, and I can call the guy right now. So, again, you try to talk to as many people that have been in meeting rooms and in games, or when you sprain an ankle in a game and you come out, a guy that's been on that staff, and seeing how a player reacts, or, when it's August and it's tough and it's, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel during the dog days, but, these sources have seen these players fight through it and show the grit and toughness to overcome that. That's what you're looking for. So, again, hats off to my college staff. They do a great job, with the research in the offseason and the information that they gather on these players that, allow these players to be on the board in a position for us to draft them.
You made the announcement on Kayvon's fifth-year option. What's the decision on Evans?
Yeah, we're not going to exercise Evans' fifth-year option.
And now that you're through the draft, what position is he primarily going to be working at?
We haven't been on the practice field yet, so.
You haven't told him, or you haven't thought about what
Yeah,
position?
we have an idea of what we're going to do, but we'll, he'll be flexible. He'll do anything he can do to help the team.
Take two more.
You see Bo. Sorry, go ahead.
Scat?
No, the Purdue lineman.
Bo.
You see him as a tackle?
Skattebo. Bo, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
You see him as a tackle?
We'll go with Scat, and then Bo is good.
Yeah, like Scat.
Yeah, no, he did a good job playing tackle. He's athletic. He can bend. I think he's got, like Joe talked about, some position flexibility to move inside if we need him to. We'll start him out at tackle. is the plan. But I think, once you get to those type of, down the line linemen, if you will, position flexibility, as you know, is important. But we'll start them out at tackle.
In regards to, so you now have 4 quarterbacks, a rookie who you're going to try and develop, right, who's a first-round pick, and then 2 other quarterbacks who are going to need to learn the system. How do you plan on going about making sure that they get enough reps, and how do you and developing your young quarterback at the same
Sure,
time?
fair question. We'll have a plan for that. We're working through that. We kind of did that a little bit at Buffalo with Josh in terms of the initial plan of how we wanted to approach it and the reps that we needed to take and the things we wanted to see him do. And, Jackson will get a fair amount of reps, with the threes, and maybe you'll see him in there, sprinkle him in when he doesn't know that he's even supposed to go in there, and just to see how he reacts being in a different atmosphere. He won't know when or why, but and then continue to work with the 2 older guys. So again, it's a little bit unique because you got 2 quarterbacks that are just learning our system, so they've only had 4 meetings. So by the time Jax gets here, he's not going to be too far behind where you got, sometimes you got guys that have been in there for 3, 4, 5 years. And it's good with Tommy in there because he has pretty good familiarity for what we need to do. So they have good chemistry in there right now with Shea and Calf when they're in there and they're talking about things. And, they give their input from the experiences that they've had. And Tommy gets input of, this is how we've done it. And it's been good. So we'll add Jax to the mix, and, we'll have a plan to work with him each and every day.
You're not a big snacks for like
Snacks?
Snaps for
Your
like reps.
I was going to say, I disagree with you that strongly. Yeah.
Like for reps for your back quarterbacks during the regular season, like do you have to adjust that when you have a rookie quarterback to make sure that you find a way to, if he's not playing, to get him?
Yeah, we'll talk about that when the times come. We'll focus on phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3, and then training camp, and there's some time for that. But we'll have a plan. We'll have a plan for not just him, for all the guys that are young guys coming in. But that's that'll be an important plan for Jax, and I look forward to executing that plan with him.